Hello, my name is Michelle Powers, and I'm a professional artist and art educator. I've been presenting videos under the main theme of creativity and visual art and the art elements, which are the fundamentals or the laws, the elements of art that you need to know before you become well established or just want to be comfortable doing your art, or you want to know more about art. And this series of videos is for art teachers who are teaching elementary through secondary, even college, and students of art, parents of special students who have talent that they've recognized. And for those of you who are just interested in understanding what art is all about, what creativity means, it's a discussion time too. I will be presenting famous master artists through the centuries from the Renaissance to the present. I'll be discussing my work as a contemporary master artist and what it means to be an artist and a professional, or just be someone that likes to make art, which is a blessing if you are enjoying yourself. And I hope these videos will help you enjoy it. They give you the tools, the instruments, the understanding, the foundation to make beautiful things or to draw the way you want to draw. It gives you permission, once you understand them, to expand in your imagination. I'm going to show you some of my work today. Today is the concepts. It's not exactly an element of art, but it is an umbrella over it all. You're going to decide what you like best. Some people only like still lifes, and still life is a series of several objects put together, and you sit and draw them how you want to draw them, in the line qualities you want, in the shapes you want, with the colors you want. That's the freedom we have today because of abstract art and the pioneers in that. We are going to look at portraits a little bit, landscapes, seascapes. A lot of people love to do landscapes and seascapes, especially here in California. I do. The seascapes here are it's compelling, it's so beautiful. And abstract. A lot of people here understand abstract because it's the intuitive, it's the imagination, it's the entrepreneurship, the innovative, the inventive. Those are all terms that fit in abstract. It's nothing to be afraid of, and it's something you should know about because it's prevalent in our society. It's also the very last part of human development in civilization on Earth. Geometric, if you want to work in like cubism or in geometric shapes. And those are subjects that I just suggested. I want to give you some examples from my work. I want to share some of my work with you. I have never done a series of paintings. I've done portfolios that are similar, but I've never done a series of paintings where the colors were very similar and it was the same kind of subject and the meaning was always there. If you go to my website, www.starbellenterprises, all one word, lowercase.com, you'll see all of these small watercolors I did of the 4 marine life sanctuaries in the California coast. They are federally protected now. It was a very active time of my life where I went all over the coast and visited every spot that I made a sketch of, and then went home and made a watercolor. They're all the same shape, size, and they're on all kinds of gift items in my gift shop. This is the Monterey Bay. There are no man-made objects in any of the watercolors. That's one of the priorities. They're all California colors, they call them. They're neon-like colors, bright, and they are the California coast, and they're all watercolors, very similar. I used this one because it was the major place where I started this place where I cried for the wonderful animals that live in the bay in Monterey, the sea otters especially, who love us and come up and be friendly and wave, the wonderful whales and dolphins, the sea lions, the seals in their wonderful birthing time, the sea elephants. There's wonderful the pelicans, the birds, and just the sea grasses and the little blue butterfly. All these are protected by the federal government now, thanks to the population of California supporting their wildlife along the coast. All the beaches are open. No one can own the coast. It's the public domain, and it belongs to the marine life. And I use this for a cover of my poetry book, In the Sanctuary, a collection of poems. I know everything backwards, the letters, but you get an idea. I began to use some of my artwork for my books with the poetry book. I decided I wanted to do that. The next painting I did is also a seascape, and I guess it's a landscape seascape, but it's very imaginative, very spiritual, and you'll find abstract art has a very wonderful spiritual part to it. It can be very mathematical, scientific, but spiritual side is the most vital to me. This is my book, The Rain Prayer. It's a non-fiction account of the establishment of the Monterey Bay marine life. There's 4 of them now. And this is from a painting. Right here you can see it on my easel. And I've had a couple of people actually approach me and tell me what that painting meant to them. And it was astounding. It was exactly what I meant it to be. And it's an anti-nuclear painting, the nuclear energy that's so threatening to our Earth and our civilization is contained in the mountain of God above, behind the mountain. Somewhere He's holding it, keeping us pretty safe. And we needed rain, and there's rain, water coming down, dripping down on the canvas. And there's sparkles in the sand and the waves as they come in. This is actually seal rock outside of San Francisco at the beach there. And I didn't tell anyone what that meant, but I had it outside drying outside of a studio in the Tenderloin in San Francisco, and a guy was just leaning against a car came up and said, "Hey, I know what that's about." I said, "Really, what?" And he told me exactly what I just said. Another lady later did the same thing. She just walked in, was in my room, and she walked in to talk to me, and she was amazed. Her mouth kind of dropped open, and she just told me what was on it. It was like a spiritual experience. And if you really explore that side of art, you will have those experiences. It's a wonderful thing. So those are illustrations. Here's a larger one behind me. Back here, you can't really see it very well, is a large painting, and it's the cover of my memoir, The Angel Tree. It's not the tree of life. Supposedly no one's ever seen that, and I didn't presume to paint it. This was my angel tree. And in abstract art, there are angels, if you want there to be angels, in your imagination, in your spirit world, however. Some people have never had an angel visitation, and some people do receive them in healing, and they actually will talk about them. And that is a wonderful experience. Okay, so the art as an illustration, using landscapes, seascapes, and abstract concepts like angel trees. No one's ever heard of them, but I made one because to me there was one. And having that meaning attached to your art opens up a world of others, the people who want to look at your art. Now, to me, if you are interested in your art, no matter what the subject is, or the school or style, which I will get into next, you'll want to finish it off. Now, there's sketching, which is like, and sometimes sketches are a finished work, and you want to frame them, mat them, and frame them. If it's really special to you, you may not want to even sell it, but you may want to put it online or in a local gallery for sale. And that's a whole different ball game of pricing and everything, and it's not an easy thing. So selling your work, being a professional, that's like a whole other video, and I'm not going to cover that now. But I want you to consider it and treat your artwork like it's very important. Not like something you just, oh, I did this, and you kind of show it. What do you think? No. You love it. If you love it enough to show someone, be respectful. Respect your art. Respect yourself. And what you should do, this is an experimental piece for me. I was switching from my New York level of creativity to West Coast, and I was part of a gallery in San Francisco. And I was doing these watercolors that later became the smaller ones. And I was doing larger watercolors just to get an idea of color placement and how I wanted to perceive it. And that was what was important to me. It's like a study, a watercolor study of what I was going to be doing for the next, oh my gosh, almost 20 years. Started in 92, 93. And this is a mat you can buy at one of those art supply stores. Amazon.com, I think, has mats. Dick Blick has mats, pre-cut mats. Michael's, Hobby Lobby. And it usually will fit. You just need to measure, know the dimensions of your art, and then the inside dimension of the mat, and then you can just get usually they come with a backing. If they don't, you can get a particle board of some kind, a piece of cardboard, and back it, and you can even have it steamed over with plastic if you want to preserve it. Now that wouldn't be for a show, that'd be for your own keeping because it meant something to you. For me, this was a turning point. Changing style and colors and what it meant, everything in my art, in my creativity, and I wanted to remember that. Okay, so there's these moments that you want to pick that are important to you. And I have some very tragic times in my life, and I have a place where I have to learn how to handle my grief. I've had grief counseling, and because of that, the art has become rather important. So sometimes I do darker themes, and that's okay. When we had to draw cadavers in life drawing in graduate school, he told us, if you can't handle it, don't go. And it was the last thing. And I said, I said to myself, I'm not going. I've just been around too much death as it is. I don't want to see bodies carved up. So I did angels. I painted figures. The figure is like a portrait, only it's the whole figure usually. And that is a subject. And when you do your family or your friends or whoever, your self-portraits, you want to maybe have a mood to it. If mine was kind of a dark mood when I did this painting, or this drawing, I'm sorry, charcoal. I visited the cemetery a lot because of the family members that I lost. A lot of people go through this. And it is a darkness, a nighttime mood. It's hard to have it in the daytime, but at night in the moonlight and so on. And shapes become foreboding sometimes. The look on her face is trepidation or fear even. Sometimes I put fear on the faces of my figures. And it's even by the ocean, the sea. So there's a lot of mood, a lot of things that people can read into it. Up by the moon, the cloud is like a mountain. I like to put mountains of clouds in the sky. Sometimes, not all the time. I like to draw sometimes. When I did my music themes, I still do those. Some people get to have cities where they live or visit that have musicians on the street. And San Francisco was one of those. Boston was too. I lived in both cities. And this particular man was playing beautiful music, and people were just scurrying by. So I did a lot of gesture drawings. This is oil pastel. So it wouldn't smear. Oil pastels don't smear, and they weren't water-based. So I didn't try to blend them that way. I blended them by crayon, by color. And he was the still figure making this wonderful music, and these are fast-moving people walking on the street right by him, as if he wasn't there. And that is really how that is for a lot of musicians. Then I did a special drawing. These are drawings, and again, this is a whole figure. This man was playing his sax, an alto sax, and his mood all around him was darker. It was a melancholy, like blues, a bluesy sax. So I did this drawing in pastels, oil pastels, and he drew quite a crowd. He was very good. I imagine he was a professional musician. So when you see something, you know, you want to draw it, have your sketchbook with you in a bag over your shoulder or in your purse. Have something to sketch with in a zippered bag or plastic bag, I don't know, something you want to carry. I liked certain musicians. Saxophone is really important to me because my dad played tenor sax and I played on his sax for a long time. And guitar is my favorite instrument to play by myself, strumming, accompanying me, singing, and just experimenting. This was a dear friend of mine who was Yugoslavian American, but he played the most gorgeous classical Spanish guitar. So he often played in coffee houses, and this was at one of his concerts in a coffee house. It was wonderful. It was still quiet in the audience. They were wrapped in his beautiful music. Life for him was difficult, but he always was kind in his conversations. This is my music series that I'm showing you. And it's one of many. One piece I had that I did back east was in the New York show. They picked it. And it's always surprising. You always expect this ultra sophistication in cities like New York or Los Angeles, and it's not necessarily true. I'll tell you a story about something like that in a minute. And here is, remember my jazz musician gesture drawing, just scribbling, but the gestures are there of everything. This isn't. This is a drawing. The dancers are in front. They're moving, but they're not drawn like they're moving, and the musicians are moving, and they're really playing a lot. It's at a Latin jazz festival. And they're interesting. They're all different. Now, that's something you might think about when you want to put several people, how you're going to make them different. Remember the beautiful Red Conti sketches, drawings that Da Vinci and Michelangelo both have done. But it was Da Vinci's Last Supper, for his Last Supper, and each one of the disciples, and of course Jesus, was different and posed differently. Each one needs to have their own personality. Unless you want to decide that anonymity is what you want to portray, but I don't think so, not in a jazz festival or something like that. All right, this is another from the Latin Jazz festival that I went to about 4 years in a row, so I pretty much knew what I liked. And this was one of my favorite groups. That other one was too. And these are the chairs that people sat in. But you wouldn't know, they're just shapes, right? They're interesting shapes. Semicircles, and they're white. And the tint is white, but it has colors reflecting off of it, and the sky is full of color. That is abstract. It's not realism. It's expressive. And abstract expressionism is a huge school that a lot of jazz aficionados, a lot of artists love jazz. They live under that style, abstract expressionism. There was the realism, neoclassicism, and neoclassicism of the Renaissance. Neoclassics is the Renaissance, and there are people today who do drawings in neoclassic style. They're beautiful drawings, but they're missing out on all the creative growth of the contemporary world. Then there's the Impressionists of Monet, Cézanne, and on, and in the end there was Turner in England, and the Post-Impressionists. Van Gogh, of course, is my favorite. Gauguin and his wild, vibrant colors of Tahiti. So many Toulouse-Lautrec that I loved in my college years. And then there's the abstract of Kandinsky in Russia, Germany, Paris, and Klee, Paul Klee. So many people understanding the cubism of the day, and that was Picasso's forte. He took it from Braque as a student, and explored it to its nth degree. An abstract expressionism, which a lot of artists in New York, from Pollock to, who was abstract artist, to Rauschenberg and Jasper Johns. It's a wonderful medium to be in, abstract expressionism, where you express yourself. You can use all kinds of symbols and change them into different shapes, colors you want to use, put them together in different ways, not just how they fit in a wheel. And that leads you to pop art and all the wonderful artists of that style in the 60s and 70s. Andy Warhol being the leader of that, Lichtenstein. Pop art had abstract colors so much that they were just so exciting to see and cartoonish. And then there were the color field painters, and that was Rothko, Helen Frankenthaler, just beautiful abstractions of colors, of moods, thoughts, times of seasons, just amazing places, like a sunset, the sunset colors put in an abstract, gorgeous color field painting. It's just fabulous how some of these people have put together combinations, knowing the art elements and making gorgeous art. Now, I have shared with you mostly what I have done. I want to show you my surprise painting. If I can have it right here. I just have to go get it. It's right over here. Just a second. All right, now when I was discovered in 87, I think it was, in Boston by a gallery who repped their members, I had a large portfolio and worked on it every day until I had my show in 89. And I had done a lot of abstract expressionistic kinds of paintings and abstract paintings of the Atlantic coast. And I had the theme of the winter white nuclear accident as one part of the portfolio, and then just the pollution of the up-close coastal areas of New England coast and the Atlantic Ocean, and extinction. The gray whale was extinct now in the North Atlantic. And I did a more spiritual stuff, paintings, drawings, and music, quite a few music. And one was, I was moved by my daughter. I'd left her middle name open, and she was to pick her own name when she felt like it. And when she was little, she decided Mary would be her middle name, and that was fine with me. But she decided that she didn't really want that to go by that, and she just went by Megan. And then when she was in high school, when she was 16, she told me she had picked her name, and she picked my name and the spelling of my name, Michelle. And I was so happy. And to me, she had accepted the faith. She accepted my faith as well. We were bonded that way. And I did a painting of her picking their name, of her becoming an angel one day. You see the wings are just drawn in, but she's flying, and she's over the land, and there's the sea underneath her with a starfish, but it might be a place in heaven, because it might be over the stars in the sky. It's kind of open that way, and here's a shape, kind of a burst of light and gold, and she's playing a harp as she floats through heaven. And that was the honor I gave my daughter, and I entered it. It was part of my portfolio, and my gallery picked it. It was one of the 3 paintings. I was in a group show that they showed, and then it was accepted into the Grand Prix de National de Paris. I was astounded. I just couldn't believe that. I mean, to me, this was such a beautiful personal statement and very spiritual. These sophisticated places, France, Paris is the big center of art in the last century, and now they picked my little angel harp to be part of their big Grand Prix, and it was also accepted into a big show here in San Jose at the Museum of Art. And I happened to go see it on a day when the docent was going around. He wanted me to come with him, and then we stopped in front of the painting, and he had me tell all about it. And it was the most wonderful time. So what I'm saying is art is a way to communicate. If nothing else, it's a communication. And if not just with yourself and your maker, or just with yourself and trying to understand yourself, then with your friends or people you don't even know come up and tell you something about your art. And it just strikes home. What an amazing experience. Not an everyday happening at all. So we have schools and styles and subjects. We did the subjects. Schools and styles: realism, neoclassicism, impressionism, post-impressionism, abstract pop, abstract expressionism. Those are mainly current right now. There's other things under that: post-deconstruction, and they're industrial level kinds of things from New York. I don't know many people around the country who are doing these or their influences on major parts of art. If you're really interested in knowing current contemporary themes, I would subscribe to Art in America. It's one of the best, maybe the best periodicals that you can find on what's happening in art, in the world, in contemporary art. And also, I really strongly suggest you pick out artists that you've heard of or want to know more about or that you love, and pick out books at the library that you want to read more about their lives and their art, what it means. Some have tragic, horrible endings, like Van Gogh, Modigliani, just as they reach success sometimes. And that goes to show you that many artists take a stand against oppression, like fascism. Fascism is the enemy to being creative. It stifles it, and I don't know why they can't accept it. I don't know exactly what causes that energy, but they do not like creative people, and they don't want them to be creative. Now, you can pick out people even before the Renaissance, or not people so much, it's hard to find out who did what, but styles like the classical style of Greece, and there's a pre-classical Aegean area, and there's lots of new archaeological findings. There's ancient Egyptian art. If you like that kind of thing, there's all kinds of places you can go. There's Japanese art that influenced the Impressionists and Post-Impressionists greatly with their flat colors and hard edges. And that clear up to pop art. So there are all, and now of course the Chinese influences, the Chinese walls came down. We hear a lot more about what was going on in China before the communists and what's being allowed now. And I hope that they open up their doors more to abstract thinking and art, but it doesn't thrive very well in a communist oppression or a fascist kind of oppression. So I'm hoping that will maybe they'll open up, because it does foster innovation, entrepreneurship, growth, business. It's good for business. And it's good for your mind and your heart and your soul. So I highly recommend you learn more about art. Next week we're going to do the whole lesson on painting. I'm hoping to be outside. I may not make it this fall, but we do have an indoor thing we're going to do. I'm recommending that you find your paints. Just a second, I've got something here I want to show you. Acrylics, I'm recommending not to buy oils. That's very involved and it can be toxic. Acrylics are water-based and they dry quickly. You need a medium with that. When you go to the art store, you might talk to somebody if you're ordering. Buy maybe your 6 colors and a primary, secondary, and black and white, and make your own colors. Big tubes, big tubes, and a medium that you mix into the colors that helps preserve the paint. Brushes, you can buy very inexpensive brushes, acrylic brushes, and a variety of shapes, fan and large bristles, long bristled, small, tiny details. You can get sometimes 10 in a pack for under $10. And you need a palette. And my favorite palette is a piece of glass that you can lay down and just leave there. And you need a rag to wipe things off and a jar of water. Or you might get a palette paper, and that comes in a pack. And when you open it up, it's just paper that you will throw away when you're done with that particular palette. Now, if you have specially mixed colors, you don't want to do that until you're all finished. So you might want to take a canvas. This is a canvas, nice, thick, small canvas, and it has a sketch of a nautilus shell. And it's one of my favorite shells ever. It's one of the oldest animals on the planet, if not the oldest. And this is just the shell. The animal isn't in it. I've got a sketch of it, and I'm going to finish painting it. At the same time, I did a starfish. I have this starfish, and it's of course not alive anymore. And then I developed it up, and I'm not sure if I want to finish it more or not. I kind of like it that way. I don't know yet. I'm going to show you next week my abstract paintings and further ideas that I've done in painting along abstract expressionist lines and what they mean. And especially the ones that came from the Loma Prieta earthquake. After that, how things changed. It's really incredible to see. I hope I can find my sketchbook where you can see it happen in my sketchbooks. But I hope this has opened up the door to painting for you, that you're interested, not intimidated. You have your drawing colors in wax pastels, water-soluble pastels, or felt tip pens to practice with, to build up, and then get your supplies. Or just make a list and just watch next time as I explore more painting techniques, styles, and just ideas, and just do it. Remember, art is action. You can think about it all you want, and there's actually people who say they're conceptual artists. They never paint them or draw the ideas. They just think them. I don't think that's enough. You really have to do something, and then when you get braver about it, show somebody. And just get ready for someone to really love what you're doing. And then we're going to think more about professionalism, how to put your art out there for sale, if you want to go that way. You don't have to. So, in the meantime, make sure you have all of your wonderful supplies, all the places you can go. You don't have to have the painting supplies yet. Just get ready, get everything else ready, and maybe work with some of the colors in your drawing. Just go as slow as you need to. Don't rush yourself. Don't get anxious. This is a process that takes away anxiety. So I hope you enjoy your experiences in art. Until the next time. Bye-bye.